are all about partnering with faculty and engaging with faculty, including our Faculty Champions Guide. So that's for non-faculty who are looking to see how they can best support and engage with faculty. And then we have professional development workshops and resources from our partner Project Pericles that faculty can use to really see different ways and have different options that they can integrate into their own courses, as well as a variety of different classroom engagement tools, including modules that you can integrate directly into learning management systems like Canvas and Blackboard, and some different examples about doing class visits, and different sample materials for class visits in particular. And then we also have some case studies on integrating into the course registration process. We can go to the next slide. The next section is our student life integration. I don't know if y'all can, if we can go to the next slide, Alexis, I don't think it's quite showing up. Awesome. So in student life integration, one of the things I want to highlight is our case studies on partnering with orientation and our guide to creating a mandatory section in campus orientations, which is a huge way that you can reach some of the most likely to be unregistered students, your first year students. We also have a lot of materials on integrating voter registration into different student life activities. So these presentations and sample materials can work for campus events and different mandatory processes like signing up for a parking or for a campus ID card. So these are designed to work into basically any different student life activity that you have on your campus. And then the next section on the next slide is focused on student leadership. So the main thing I want to highlight here is our federal work study guidance. So this is a newer aspect of our toolkit based on the Department of Education's guidance that campuses can use federal work study funds for civic engagement activities, including voter registration. So we have some great sample materials about using work study funds on your campus for civic engagement student worker jobs, including a job posting flyer and job description that you can use when working with campuses to create these paid positions so that students can be compensated for their work. We also have some materials about creating voting ambassador programs, volunteer programs for students to participate at whatever level they're able to commit at. And so that's the voting ambassador programs with some sample case studies from Carnegie Mellon, as well as our Ask Every Student Academy, which is a self-paced student training program that students can log into online and choose different modules that they want to take, which is designed for brand new students in this space. So especially for students that don't have background in this, they can go through this at their own pace and get a really good background on voting and voter engagement and basically voting 101 on your campus. And then the next slide is about institutional partnerships. So we have a lot of different coalition building resources. I won't go through all of those in detail, but there are a lot of interactive resources that you can use to think through your own coalition building on your campuses, as well as how to build partnerships with more powerful folks on the institutional level on your campus, like your senior leadership, getting a commitment from them, or your registrar's office on campus, folks who can really help you integrate into the long-term processes and get higher level commitments on campus. And the next slide We also have a couple of different engagement resources. I really want to highlight the Your Major on the Ballot resource, which has information about, I think, over 30 different majors and why voting is relevant to those. We've gotten a lot of interest for folks about engaging, especially STEM students. So we have a lot of information on different STEM majors and why voting is important and applicable to those programs. As well as on the next slide, we also have some human-centered design resources. And so those are trainings about using the human-centered design process to better understand the needs of different types of students, different communities on your campus. So there's a training on how to use human-centered design, and then a couple of different sample materials like worksheets and how to run student focus groups, especially when you're trying to, create a new process on a campus and you're not sure exactly what's going to be the best way to do it, or you're not sure it's going to be really, inclusive to different communities of students on your campus. Yeah, so those are the different sections on the toolkit. That basically wraps up my quick overview of Ask Every Student and our toolkit. So before we go into our a little bit more interactive activity to use this, I just want to check if folks have any questions about Ask Every Student in general or our toolkit. You can feel free to go off mute or raise a hand if you do. I see it. We've got some thumbs up, so seems like perhaps no question. All right, that's great. Cool. So we can go to the next slide. So we are going to do a little bit of an activity for most of this session, so folks can have a chance to actually try this out. So I am going to put a link to a Jamboard in the chat here for everyone. So if folks could open that up, you should all have access to that. But if folks have any trouble with it, opening the link, let me know.
Do you want me to display the Jamboard, or do you want me to keep sharing the slide?
If you could display the Jamboard, that would be great, Alexis. Thank you. Awesome. All right. And I see folks are able to get into it. So that's great too. So a little bit of an overview. We are going to do a bit of a brainstorm on using the Ask Every Student framework and different opportunities on your campuses, and share that. And hopefully folks will be able to get some new ideas from everyone on different opportunities that they can use. And then we are going to apply that to the toolkit, and I'm going to help you all find some different resources so that we can come out of this with everyone having some ideas of ways that they can ask every student on their campus, and some resources and materials so y'all are ready to jump into it and get started working to ask every student for your next elections. So if everyone can go to the first slide of the Jamboard, we are going to start off by brainstorming what opportunities there are to integrate asking every student on your campus. So the best way to do this would be to think about what processes students go through that every student or a lot of students go through. And then if folks want to start a new sticky note, so you can either click on the sticky note button on the left side, and that'll let you create a new sticky note. Or if you click on the copy and paste me sticky note, there are 3 dots there where you can duplicate that. So if you want to just create a new sticky note and put some ideas on there, think about the campuses that you work at, or if you work at a lot of campuses, you can think about what processes are, in common at those campuses that a lot of people go through. And we're just going to take maybe 2 minutes or so for folks to put your ideas on here. Feel free to put multiple on. And once you have put your ideas on a sticky note, look at what other folks have put on there, and we are going to add the little stars at the bottom, like there's little diamonds at the bottom. And if you want to click and drag those to your favorite ones, and that can be, something that you think is relevant to your campus, something that you thought was a really great idea. And you can add little stars to it. And then we are going to choose one that everyone is really excited about and go through the rest of the activity based on that. So think about which one you want to talk about for the next, 20 minutes. And that's what we're going to put stars on. Awesome. I am seeing some really great ideas already on here. Awesome. I'm seeing a lot in common around class registration, class enrollment, housing and residential life processes, orientations. Great. And now if folks could go ahead and start adding the little diamond shapes at the bottom, so you can just click on those and drag them around and add them to whichever ones you are excited about talking about. If you're having any trouble clicking and dragging them onto, feel free to click on the little pen and draw a little star next to the ones that you like, if that's easier too, just so that we can see what folks are excited to talk about, whichever way works best for you. Okay, and then let's take like 30 more seconds on this, and then we'll choose one to go forward with. Okay, cool. So it seems like some of the ones that we've gotten the most stars around are move-in, class registration, modules in first year seminars, student orientation. Cool. So move-in, class registration, first year seminars, and orientation seem like what folks are most excited about. So why don't we focus on move-in and orientation? It seems like are the common ones here. And obviously y'all should look through the rest of the resources on your own time if you're super excited about one of the other ones. But yeah, let's talk about move-in and orientation. So if people want to go to the next slide, we are going to talk about for move-in and orientation in particular, how we can integrate voter registration and democratic engagement into this process. So now that we've chosen, an arena to focus on integrating, let's think about specific steps you can go through. So this is really like, the tactics that you could use in orientation, the different specific, actionable things we can take. So for orientation and move-in. So let's spend 5 minutes or so brainstorming on here. And so we'll do the same thing. I will put the link to the Jamboard in the chat as well. So Elizabeth, if you want to click on that. Oh, okay. Well, if anyone else needs it, I just put the link in the chat again. Yeah, and we'll be doing the same thing. So you can just make a new sticky note by clicking on the copy and paste one, and you should be able to duplicate, or you can click on the little sticky note on the left side toolbar. Awesome, and I'm seeing some ideas on here already. That's very great. We're gonna do this until 12:57. Put our ideas on here. And this will be for orientation and housing. Oh, we said orientation and move-in specifically, I think. Sorry, my bad. Awesome. So I see asking to be part of the conversation, inviting the orientation staff to your coalition. That's a great idea. Helping out running the event. Those are great options. Taking advantage of an opportunities fair at an orientation. Awesome. And I feel like I should mention, if folks have any questions as you're coming up with this too, feel free to put that on or put those in the chat if questions are coming up as you come up with these. And Alexis, can I just double check? We have until 1:10 for this, right?
Yes, we do. We're on.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Cool. So it seems like most folks have added onto here. So we have some great ideas for how we can integrate voter registration and democratic engagement into the orientation and move-in process. So I want to highlight some of the ones that I think are really great that folks should take a look at. But one of the ones that I really liked was inviting the orientation folks to participate in your coalition so that you can really build a relationship there, work together, and asking for student input. So I think just getting input in general and involving students is always a great part of the work that we do, because then you can make sure that you're really grounded in what the students think and what their experiences are on your campus. I see that we also have some ideas for specific parts of orientation to involve in. So having a table at an opportunities fair where you can answer questions and have voter registration, adding information to the orientation folders. I love these like really specific tactics that you can engage in the overall orientation, since these are always very busy processes. So having a specific part of it that you want to engage in, that will make your process of working with orientation and talking to them, I think, really fruitful, because you'll have a specific ask for them. I see we also have working with RA training prior to move-in. I think that's a really great way for Moving in particular, since that will allow you to really reach every student, because every student who moves in has an RA, and by supporting those folks, you can have such a broad reach, as well as working with your student government, passing a resolution. So those are great tactics to build support, especially if you don't have the support maybe from your orientation committee or your, other folks on campus, getting some student support to help pave the way for that. So thanks everyone for adding these really awesome ideas. Hopefully y'all have seen some ideas on here that, you didn't think of, that you can think about using on your campus. And in order to really take these ideas and move with them into action, I want to share some resources from our toolkit in particular that are really relevant to these. So one thing that I want to highlight is in our toolkit, this is the link to the toolkit. First of all, I realize I didn't put that. I don't think I put that in the chat earlier. That's my bad. Here's the link to the toolkit. And so most of the resources related to what we've just talked about here are found in the student life integration section of our toolkit. So like I said, that's focused on student life processes. And so one that I think will be incredibly relevant and helpful for folks wanting to integrate into orientation is on this page that I just put in the chat, which is focused on institutionalizing voter registration at new student orientation. So we have a really great co-designer from Stony Brook University who has a mandatory session in orientation, where students attend, and they have a presentation about voter registration that is run by students, and then a chance for students to actually fill out their registration at that time. So they have basically a captive audience of students during orientation where they can help them register, and that has been incredibly successful on their campus. So there's a quick guide to the process, starting with getting buy-in from the college or university. So like a lot of you all mentioned, meeting with the orientation committee or the orientation department, involving them in your coalition and building that relationship and getting buy-in from them. That is the crucial first step, as well as they detail the planning and preparation and the actual session that they ran on their campus, which is hopefully a good example for folks who are able to do that. And so we also have in this section our civic engagement packet and our presentation about voting as a student that folks can use if they are able to get a mandatory session in orientation, to have those sample materials ready to go that you can download and adapt to your campus. So for example, when you want to add information to an orientation packet, you can go in here and see some of the sample civic engagement packets that we have that you can then adapt for your campus and have it ready to go, just to make it a little bit easier once you do get that buy-in from your campus and they say, sure, you can do it. You can just go into our toolkit and download that, so you don't have to create all new resources on your own. Essentially, we want you all to be able to save yourself a little time and not reinvent the wheel, since folks have already created a lot of those resources. I do want to also just highlight that on this topic in particular, the Ask Every Student program is developing a training with some of the campuses that have had a lot of success in integrating into their student life processes, in particular orientation. So if folks want to stay tuned for that and join our Ask Every Student mailing list, we are going to have that training coming up pretty soon for folks who are interested in learning more on integrating into orientation and move-in. So I'm going to just drop that link in the chat as well as a quick plug for that. if folks join Ask Every Student, we will have a little bit more of in detail trainings on this area in particular that it seems like folks are really excited about. And then I know we are getting towards the end of our time for this. And so the last thing I will say about this training and these resources as we wrap up is that this is just a really small snapshot of some of the resources that are available in the Ask Every Student Trail Toolkit. I really want to encourage you guys to actually go to the toolkit link and click through and just see some of the other resources that are in there. I know that folks like you all are working really hard every day to support student voting in your states. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you all so that you have the, the capacity and the support to be able to go out and do this and reach as many students as possible. So please, take advantage of these different resources so you can make your lives a little bit easier so that you can go out and reach even more students. I did put the link in to sign up to join our Ask Every Student community and get our emails, but our toolkit and our resources are always available and free to everyone. So you don't have to sign up to be able to use these. These are always out there for anyone who wants them. And since we have about 5 minutes left, I do want to see if there are any questions from folks. Yes, I will absolutely repost the link to the toolkit. Are there any other questions that folks have about the Ask Every Student framework, the toolkit?
I'll ask a quick question. Are you doing another round of co-designer?
So we're actually not sure when the next co-designer cohort is going to launch. So the answer is I don't know. We would like to do another round, but we're not sure if it's going to be this year or if we're going to start in 2024. But if you or other folks have ideas or input on these resources and you're interested in helping to give feedback and iterate them, I will put my email in the chat. We always welcome that insight from folks. Yeah.
I actually participated before, and it was a great incentive to actually act on some things I had been thinking about working. So if anybody's thinking about doing that, it's a helpful process.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
This is more of a wrap-up comment because we're going to be back in the main room soon. Thank you so much, Shethar, for your presentation. And for those of you that are thinking about institutionalization and making moves forward on your campus, Ask Every Student in particular is one of those opportunities and resources that helps push campuses closer to 100% participation. The campuses that participate and use these kinds of resources and use these kinds of strategies are the ones that are having 80-90% almost 100% of their student body participating in democracy. So if you're thinking, and you don't have to start there, you don't have to start at most of the students on your campuses being engaged. I think that as a coalition overall, we're all interested at working with campuses where they are and moving campuses forward. But I do think that a lot of the strategies are very, very helpful for those campuses that are looking for actionable ways to move the needle.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Alexis. And if folks have any questions about the program, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I did put my email in the chat, so I am happy to answer any questions or talk more about the program. But I think that's all that we've got. I know we are just a minute or so early, so Alexis, I'm not sure if we want to have folks go back to the main room.
Do you mind if I say something? I'm with the League of Women Voters and really excited about everything that I'm hearing. And I just want to remind people that, say, if you're doing a really big voter registration drive and you're just shorthanded and you would need more people to help you with the drive, call your local League of Women Voters. We would love to assist you in any way that we can.
Thank you so much for that. I know in Ohio, the league is heavily involved in many of the campuses in their communities, and honestly helped start one of our community colleges as well and get funding for them. So heavily involved in democracy work and willing to be totally flexible and support community efforts. So I appreciate what you said, and I co-sign that as well. And on that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I think we're at time. So